Right, got it. Hello, and welcome again to the monthly HotHouse, PMO HotHouse. It's the monthly PMO show from the House of PMO. Hopefully you're all well. You're in the capable hands of John and I. John, hi, how are you? You okay?
Hey, Lindsay, how are you doing? And a big hello to everyone. We're streaming everywhere now. We're on LinkedIn, aren't we? So hello to everyone on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. Hello to everyone on YouTube. Yeah. And of course, we've got our small sort of inner circle, as we like to think of them. Those are the people that have signed up on the House of PMO website and have actually got the Zoom invite. So they're kind of in this inner sanctum where all the way through this, we can see what they're saying in chat and we can kind of answer their questions live as we go. I think we've got somebody watching the sort of LinkedIn feed as well. So if we do see anything there, we'll try and answer those questions as well. But if you want to be on the sort of inner sanctum of these things, right close and up personal with the action, I'd encourage you to pop over to House of PMO after this session, sign yourself up for next month to be in with a chance of being in that small, intimate inner group for next time.
Yes, that's you here. Okay, so let's crack on. Let's get ready with the show. Woo! So hopefully many of you might have already seen our show before. If not, welcome. This is the monthly PMO show from HotHouse. So that's a combination of HotPMO and the House of PMO. And we've got another great show coming up. Lots of nice little, interesting bits and pieces. So we've got this theme of the month. We've got a smash and grab. So we've got a new segment. That's the word.
Segment. There we go.
Segment.
A new thingamy-bob.
Thingy-me-bob, indeed. So if you've not joined us before, what we try to do is bring together lots of little interesting bits that will keep you amused and informed about everything that might be going on in PMO land today. And so let's crack on with the first little bit. It is the theme of the month. So this month's theme is not necessarily to do with the theme of our particular little show right now. It is more to do with the House of PMO, because we like to have, different themes that are running throughout the year. Sometimes it's related to if there's like kind of international days or months and things that are going on, or we just want to highlight some of the things that, are happening around PMO. So this month at House of PMO, we have been touching on this lovely subject, which I know many people will be, we know knowledge management and all that kind of good stuff. So we've got a really great hot seat coming up as well about knowledge. But we here at House of PMO have been thinking about the word knowledge and, just the kind of things that we are doing. And, is it information? Is it knowledge? It's all that kind of good stuff. And we wanted to be able to share, kind of insights and get you thinking about your own knowledge, the knowledge that you have within the PMO, and all of that kind of good stuff, because essentially that is what House of PMO is all about. It's about bringing people together, sharing, exchanging, helping us to move on in our particular field. So just a few little bits for this segment, just to get us thinking. So from a PMO knowledge point of view, we got thinking about, first of all, okay, if we're going to have a knowledge month, what are we talking about when we talk about knowledge? So we've got, in terms of for us, really, we have an information library. So we've got a library of stuff that, that we do, all the sessions that we do are recorded and we share the insights from those. You have reports and all that kind of good stuff. One of the things that we do quite a lot of is talking about, sorry, I'm just all over the place with this particular slide deck. But one of the things that we do quite a lot of is sharing what other people are doing and what other things that people are reading. And one of the things that we have also over at the House of PMO is the book library, the bookshelf. We've also got obviously it's conference season coming up, so again, a lot of people looking at different kinds of events that they can be going to. There's the networking side of stuff that we obviously do, where we're here right here today, and if you're here with us on LinkedIn and YouTube, there's a chat functionality. We have the chat chat here as well. So to get to know other people and where they are and, you know, all of that kind of good stuff. And of course, you're listening to a session right now, which is hopefully going to be exchanging some of the knowledge, you know, from things that not only from John and I today, but hopefully we'll be jumping into some of the chat stuff as well. So from a knowledge point of view, what I wanted to do, and I think you'll like this, John, is just explain a little bit more about how we are building knowledge today in PMOs. What we've found over the years is that actually, you know, we can't afford as PMO professionals to wait around for people to write the next textbook. You know, we are producing the knowledge all the time. It's one of those jobs where, you know, because the PMO has to be different in different organizations because of the nature of, you know, the kind of projects that they're supporting. It means that often from PMO point of view is that you're bringing in bits of information from all over the place, but making connections, providing new knowledge for your existing PMO or for your organization. And I just wanted to just share this little one that, you know, from our point of view here at House of PMO, here's how we kind of see how we're building some knowledge. So here's John, looking rather wonderful on stage last year at PMO Learn.
Looking fabulous.
I know, he did a session called PMO Metrics and Measures, which we recorded, transcribed. He also mentions the Inside PMO report, which again about metrics and measures, which made us create this wonderful little thing, which allowed us to pull together all the different metrics and measures. We then got together with a load of people, drank wine, ate sweets, and talked about what kind of things that were in there. And from that, we then created another piece that allowed us to pull together all those kind of things that people were talking about and sharing. So a brilliant example of how I think that we as a profession, as a group, as a community, and moving on the knowledge and you know, bringing in new things and learning from those and sharing them out. And I think that's a great example, you know, just from a purely just the metrics and measures that we'd focused on this particular example. The other thing around knowledge, which really, as always, is really fascinated, certainly Eileen and I, is a bit about the PMO as a knowledge broker. And we love this term that kept popping up from a particular report called a PMO spanner, or AKA a boundary spanner. And we loved it because it comes from that research paper that you can see there in 2013 that talks very much about the PMO being that kind of function, those people that within the organization that are linking other people, you know, other networks within the organization, you know, with helping with that knowledge, and also thinking about, you know, the external sources of information and how we're going to be utilizing that. It works perfectly in terms of the way that PMOs have been, I suppose, over the last few years, especially about all the different kinds of delivery frameworks that are coming on board, you know, the different approaches to working with teams and all this kind of external stuff that's happening in and around project management. You know, it's been very much that the PMO is where it's been landing. And that language, that the spanner language, is obviously that you're spanning boundaries within the organization and also externally as well. And that language, that terminology goes on to talk about things like boundary objects and boundary endeavors. And I love the terminology here. But essentially what it's talking about here, if you think about things like artifacts, so the objects are things like, you know, the documentation that might be produced, a new process, that kind of thing. And the endeavors are things like where we're bringing people together in communities of practice and, you know, that we're doing lunch and learn sessions, or we're facilitating workshops and that kind of thing. And again, you know, we've already touched on this kind of stuff before, and again, it's available in the library if you want to go and have a read at it. But it is, what we really love about this is that it's the people side of things. It's not just necessarily about reports and documents and all this kind of thing. We are there as a people connector as well. And then there's finally around the PMO knowledge, one of the things that I think is becoming more and more apparent when we look at where the PMO is going, and all this talk about, you know, what kind of PMOs are most effective and provide and drive value and all that kind of stuff. It's also worth recognizing that as a PMO and as an individual, we have got so many different knowledge areas that we can be looking at, getting involved in, learning more about, in order to be able to do maybe your PMO is going to be changing in the future, or to do better at what it is that you do. We've taught from a competency framework, these were just some of the outline areas that, we have an impact on the job we do. But interestingly, again, a lot of chat at the moment is also about, from a business point of view, that the PMO needs to understand more about the business, and how we help, drive the value from the projects and the change that we're supporting. And just interestingly, if you look at some of the latest trends that are around the business in terms of where businesses are looking in the future, this is just potentially some of the things that will impact the PMO's knowledge in terms of understanding more about the business. And there's a lot of things there that feel like, they're not a million miles away. They're right here, right now. And we know some of these already in terms of things like data collection, data analytics, AI stuff. There's a lot of things around the customer experience, sustainability, and the zero waste, and all of that kind of good stuff. So yeah, just a whistle-stop tour, just to think about, from a PMO point of view, but there's a lot of knowledge that we've got to be able to learn, to take on board, and to help our organizations. So yeah, deep breath. Whew, that's PMO knowledge. So that's that segment done with John. It's on to it's smash and grab. So John, this is a new one, and you're in a hot seat this time. So what about smash and grab? What's that all about?
Well, so it's interesting. So one of the things that you were just talking about with knowledge, I think, is one of the things I like about it is actually it's PMO people generating PMO knowledge and using that for the PMO. And I so often in the past, I think we've been reliant on PMI's body of knowledge and stuff from APM and things from project managers that we've kind of pulled in and sort of made our own PMO stuff around. I really love everything that you're doing at HotPMO to actually say, no, let's not just piggyback off everyone else anymore. Let's have our own PMO body of knowledge of how PMOs work and how they engage in organizations, because nobody else really understands it like PMO people do. And I think that's really, really important. So I love what's happening there. That said, we now have a segment called Smash and Grab, which is doing completely the opposite, where we are not building our own knowledge. We are shamelessly breaking into somebody else's area and stealing what they've done before, because there's a lot of good ideas out there that we can use in our world as well. And the one I'm just going to talk about really briefly now is something called the stepper model. So I have stolen this shamelessly from the world of coaching. Let me just share screen really, really quickly. This is kind of what it looks like. It's stepper, sometimes with 2 Ps, sometimes with 3 Ps, depending on who's talking about it. But it's a model that is used in coaching for getting somebody to a plan. Now, that's something we do in PMOs all the time. We get people to, we take someone with an idea and we try and get them to a stage where they have a nice detailed plan. And there's loads of ways of doing this. We've all done workshops where we stick Post-it notes on walls. We do work breakdown structures. We channel that through and we come up with a plan at the other end of it and help people shape those. What I liked about this model and what it's made me think about a lot more is they put this word in here, emotion, at this middle stage. And not only have they put it there, actually, when they talk about the model and when they suggest a path through the model, they put it all the way through front and center. And the argument for that is really quite clear. Now, they're thinking about individual coaching sessions. They're thinking about somebody coming to them that might have a subject area, and they need to work with that individual to define their goal, work out where they're going, and help them form a plan. But the reason emotion is so important around this is even if you have the best plan in the world, you've got it really nicely defined step by step. If they don't have an emotional attachment to it, if they don't believe they can do it, if they don't feel in their bones that this is something that's going to work for them, then it's never going to fly. That plan is never going to get off the whiteboard or never going to get off the Gantt chart, and is never going to work. And I love that emphasis. And it's something that I've been trying to do more recently when I'm in workshops, when we're sort of setting up projects and defining them, or even doing business cases earlier, is making sure I'm doing a conscious check-in around the emotion of everybody involved in it. Actually asking those questions. How do you feel about your chances of succeeding in this? Or if we're not getting into there, reversing it and saying, well, actually, how does it feel if this doesn't happen, if you don't achieve these goals that you're trying to do? That emotional check-in, we just tend to score that on a 1 to 10 scale. How do you see your chances now? If you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling confident in doing it, then your emotional attachment to it is too low. And we need to go through again, going back to why we're doing it, what the subject is, where we want to be going with it. Maybe we need to change direction a little bit, but we keep refining and refining until we get that buy-in and the passion and emotion behind it. Because so often with projects, you'll find that it's the emotion and the passion and the engagement are the things that count, often far more than the plan and the documentation that we have on paper. So yeah, that was just one from me that I shamelessly stole from the wonderful world of coaching, and I'm using in the PMO space. If anyone wants to find out more about that one, on HotPMO's website, we've got a growing collection of management models there that we tend to use and share. You won't find this one there, so don't get too excited until after the weekend, because it's in QA at the moment. But rock back there on Monday and you'll be able to see this added to all the other models that we've got there, and it'll break it down a bit more detail on how you can use it as well.
Yeah, it's super duper. I really like that smash and grab idea. Hopefully other people do as well. And there's so much stuff that's out there that is not within our field that is going to be really useful. So I look forward to seeing where we can steal with zeal, as we say, don't we, Eileen?
Indeed.
Absolutely. I'm shameless. Steal everything.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move on. Thanks, John. So next segment. So we like to keep this one going. It allows us to really think about PMO specific stuff, and on a month by month basis. But John, you're first up. Citations.
Well, this doesn't sound very sexy or exciting, does it? Citations. Can I just share screen really quickly? Is that all right, Lindsay?
Yeah, sure.
So keep the stepper thing in mind, right? Because I was playing around with AI and seeing how well AI can write articles for me. And this is just an extract of what AI did for me around writing an article about the stepper model. And had it written a really good one for me, it would have been out by now. As it is, I need to do it manually, which is why it's on Monday. Anyway, a few key things here. This is what it came up with. It was developed by Tony Stofolsis, and the goals are setting goals. You can see the stepper there: setting goals, thinking, evaluating, planning, pursuing, assessing. And that all sounds like it makes sense, right? Except it's absolute nonsense, because those of you who remember my last slide, those are not the steps of the model at all. It's subject, target identification, emotion, perception, plan, and adapt. And this guy, Tony, he is a coach. To be fair, I'm sure he's a very, very good one. I found him on LinkedIn, but he's not the guy that came up with this model. It's Angus MacLeod. So what the AI has tried to do here is apparently make up its own coaching model using that acronym, and then has picked an entirely random coach and put their name to it. It looks credible, but has no substance. I suspect we're going to see a lot of this happening as we see more and more people using AI tools to pull stuff together without an understanding of what they're doing and without that ability to sense check. So even though it's boring, and even though we all hated doing it at university, my advice is, whenever you're seeing these kind of articles about using something or somebody arguing that you should follow a certain direction, a certain approach, start asking for those citations, because those people that have taken time to research it properly and understand it will have no problem telling you the books they read, the people they spoke to, the stuff that influenced them. Whereas people that are plugging some stuff into Chat GPT and churning out content for the sake of it will have no idea, because those tools don't give you that context, because there isn't a citation. Because as we've seen with this one, a lot of this was all just made up entirely. So that's my hot things with citations. I'm a big fan of, and people can tell you where they got their ideas from.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Okay, so Eileen, what's your hot right now?
Well, with great excitement this week, we introduced the launch of International PMO Day. So this is something that the House of PMO has done in collaboration with a number of other PMO communities. So people that you'll know in terms of Americo Pinto, Laura Bernard, Leo, and Joe Puz. We've talked about it for a while, just recognizing that we're all doing kind of great things, and we wanted to give people who work in PMOs the opportunity to truly celebrate. And I actually went and had a look at what the definition was celebrate meant, which is to do something, to acknowledge something by doing something we enjoy. So this is going to be something that kind of comes up at the second Tuesday, Lindsay, every year. But the first one this year is the 9th of May. So there is a website, www.internationalpmoday.com, which gives you some ideas about how you can celebrate. You'll obviously hear a bit more about it nearer the time, but it was officially launched this week and we're all dead excited to actually kind of celebrate around the whole globe. Lots of different PMOs, different shapes and sizes, different kind of perspectives, doing different things with different people on different projects, different companies, different industries. So I have got nothing else planned for my day. So if anybody wants to book me on the 9th of May, it's not happening. So that's what we're doing for the day. And if you want us to visit, let me know. I'm determined to go out and visit some PMOs on the day.
Well, there you go, roving reporter. Thank you very much, Eileen. Mine's just, I feel a bit, you know, this month, I just think it's just been really difficult to try and pick stuff because every time I thought about something, somebody else has nicked it, i.e. the celebration of the PMO day will first start. But the updates, things that are hot right now, doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but it's definitely hot. You've got the new version of Chat GPT coming. I am actually really excited about it, even though you've just shown us Chat GPT being a bit naughty. I really like the idea that it's going to be able to work with images as well, that it's going to be able to create PowerPoints, but you can give it some Excel data and it'll give you some insights. Whether it's any good or not, I don't know, but I can't wait to have a look at it and have a play with it. You know, I'm really, really curious about that. And the other update that was big literally this week is SAFe as well, is the scaled agile framework, that it's gone to a new version, which means that there's been a scrabble of stuff coming out about that. We were interested, I know John knows a little bit more about this than I do, but we were interested in what's happening around that concept of a PMO. They call it an agile PMO, because in the past, or in the previous version, there'd not been a lot of guidance or insight as to what that really looks like and what, you know, not enough for people to be able to grasp and actually try and run with. So we're really interested to see what the updates will be around SAFe version 6, is that right?
It's SAFe version 6. So yeah, what they did have was an agile PMO, an APMO. On the insider sort of discussion forums, there was a lot of discomfort about having a PMO in that agile space, and they didn't really quite like it. So they slapped an A on the beginning in earlier versions. What they've done this time is called it a VMO, a Value Management Office. There's what it's still really, really light. There's only a couple of paragraphs on the website about what this value management office does. But what I do see in that couple of paragraphs, I like. They've used a cautionary tale of organizations going very agile, deciding they don't need a PMO because we're agile now, ditching it, only to find they've got a massive gap and recreating something again. So I like the fact they've got that story in there as a cautionary tale. And it's something we saw a lot in the early days of people going agile, dare we say, as a big bang. So they've got that in there. I do hope there's going to be more content in there in the future, because what 6 doesn't have, it's got role descriptions for a load of different roles and a load of different teams. There's still no mention formally of the VMO roles and responsibilities or anything there. It's kind of a throwaway bit in on one page, but hopefully maybe 6.1, maybe that'll be the place that we'll see it more, I think.
Well, you know, I've got it hot right now because it is happening. And, you know, I just think whether it's good or bad, the fact that things are getting updated gives us more things to explore, you know, and whether these things are getting better or not. I mean, I'm just, the whole like AI stuff is just so interesting at the moment, and having some really good playing about with the imagery, for example. What you're seeing right now is 2 of those images are being created using Midjourney, which is the tool that you know, you can create imagery from words and sentences and things like that. So that black and red there is about the this is actually the project office dealing with updates, and it's all a bit of a whirl and like that going on.
It'll be we're having it's worth mentioning, isn't it? We've actually going to have a session on it at PMO Learn.
Yes.
This year, We've got on the day before the conference where we have our learning event, one of the sessions is actually going to be kind of practical use of AI. So that'll be fascinating.
Yeah, and just to finish that off, with the next session coming up from the House of PMO next Wednesday evening is about a PMO, which is from somebody that has been using the scaled agile framework SAFe and has been developing that role a PMO over the last couple of years, and has got some brilliant insights from National Grid. So if you are interested, go and check that one out. So let's crack on. Let's have a look at what is not right now, and this one.
Oh my, this has been a hot
Who's been on LinkedIn?
A hot topic this week. So let me try and explain this one. It's one of those things that I think meant well and was unfortunately misguided. So this is a PMI publication that has come out, and they pushed quite hard. PwC pulled it together for them, and what they've come up with, this idea of XMOs. Now, what they're actually saying is that there's a couple of things. Firstly, they're saying actually a PMO, as we thought of it in the old days, an admin function that supports a project manager by doing minutes and all those kind of things. Really, we've moved on from that. There's now lots of different types of things out there. There's value focus, there's portfolios, there's all these different types of offices out there. And actually, we need to be moving away from that very, very old model to these different ways of thinking. And we also need to be embracing technology. We need more specialist PMOs in some places where they're more data driven, more AI focused, more tools focused, and more finance focused in different areas. So what you've got is an array of different offices that are more specialist. So rather than putting one particular letter at the beginning, let's use an X to donate first to indicate that we've got, it could be any number of things, much like we do for the CXO level in organizations. All of that sounds good, except for a few things. Firstly, that kind of project management office that they're kind of referring back to is one that I've not really seen for many years. A lot of the PMOs, and I'm sure a lot of you here will resonate, we are those forward-thinking teams that are very much focused on flow through the business, focusing on value, focusing on helping everyone do the right things, coaching and mentoring teams, and accelerating delivery. So actually, a lot of what they were setting up to say, actually, we shouldn't be doing this anymore, we should be doing more of this, has caused a lot of upset in the PMO communities, because saying, what are you on about? That's what we already do now. I'm not sure when you guys last saw a PMO, but that must have been a long time ago. It was made, unfortunately, worse by the CEO of PMI, who, by his own admission, and he edited it later, said, sorry, I was rushing through an airport, I didn't fully think it through. But he messaged on LinkedIn where he basically appeared to say, it wasn't exactly what he said, but it certainly seemed that way, that we should be evolving the PMO and using more technology. And actually, look at what we're doing now. We're using a little tool that automatically transcribes our meetings rather than needing a PMO person to write minutes, which of course inflames and upsets PMO people, because as we know, we do not like being seen as the minute taker, because the PMO is so much more than writing people's minutes for them. He did hastily go back and correct that. I think damage was done by that, and damage has been done by trying to compare a PMO with what it might have been, got even 10, 15 years ago. I had a bit of a chat with sort of Lindsay and others over the last couple of days. We actually went back to the PMO conference in 2016, which was the earliest one I could find. And so much of the content, even then, 7 years ago, was about value, was about agility, was about continuous improvement, all the use of technology, all the sorts of things they're saying that maybe we should be thinking about for the future were things that we were advocating and talking about. And most of the people who are listening to us now on YouTube and LinkedIn and on our circle are already doing. So great in theory, but really missed by a mile on the delivery of this and the perception of how PMOs work today.
Ooh, right, there you go. There's a link for the report in the chat right there. So Eileen, resource management. Can
I just say as well, it can't go to XMO because my tattoo says PMO. So I'm sticking with PMO. That's my argument for sticking with PMO. Right, yes, resource management. I've had lots of conversations with people over the last few weeks, and we often talked about benefits management being on the top of the too hard pile, and resource management is becoming more and more of an issue. Organizations are really struggling. I think a lot of it is around resource scarcity now. Lots of organizations don't have any kind of flex, they haven't got any kind of headroom in terms of how their resources are going to be used. But I also think now we've got a whole range of different delivery methods, and we've got people delivering delivering projects all across the organization. It's becoming very difficult for the organization to identify what resources we've got, which ones are available to work on projects. How do we actually kind of, how much do we know that the time they're working on projects, and how can we kind of forecast their kind of usage and their skills training and all of the rest of it? And there's some interesting talk as well around kind of the agile, because on agile, people, you know, you're meant to be kind of fully focused and committed to the project, but we see more and more kind of people who work part-time on an agile project, and I always kind of think that's really kind of a bit strange in terms of kind of where their focus is. And I think there's lots of tools out there that will help with resource management, but I think that base data is what continues to be a struggle for organizations. So I don't necessarily see the end in sight. I know House and PMO, we did a PMO managers lunch a few years ago now on resource management, and came up with some kind of high level views and approaches. But I think it'll be interesting in terms of kind of where the theory is around resource management, whether it has to be absolutely tailored to organization. There is no best practice out there for resource management, so interesting in terms of kind of whether there'll be any kind of shift, or whether it'll just be things that we kind of tactically work on our projects and programs across the organizations.
Okay, great. And finally from me, yeah, cop out. I know. I couldn't think of anything else. However, you know, just seeing that you know, these updates can not only be great for people, but it is this, you know, certainly stuff with Safe now is you know, there's people scrabbling then to be recertified, which you know, just brings it all back to, you know, the money grabbing schemes, or, you know, whatever that might be. But yeah, it's just it from the updates kind of things. But, you know, let's move on and let's have a quick look. So really simple this week, and always talk about PMOs. Is the PMO you work in actually called PMO? Just want to know, yes or no? Is it actually called that? Yes or no? So we've had a quick stream, you know, there's over 70% of people have had a go. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, you know, just you can comment on that, just let us know, you know, whether you actually called that or not. I'm just going to share it really quickly. Is a PMO you work in actually called PMO? 88% of people is actually called PMO. So it's not called anything like a VMO or XMO, APMO. Or is it? Because that's the other thing that I thought was, if that result had gone the other way, I actually wanted to know what you were actually called, because I think people have different, you know, different names for things like, I don't know, it's the program PMO of excellence, or, you know, just it has a bigger title that means something to your organization. But you know, all this talk at the moment about different types of PMOs and whether you should call it something else other than PMO, you know, I think at the moment, I think it's just, you know, simple that people are calling their PMOs PMO, and no doubt having to explain what kind of PMO it is and what way that may continue, you know. But yes, that's this really quick one today, you know, just PMO of the month. Yes, we're called PMOs. So in terms of yeah, great, Rachel, she's come across strategy management office. Yes, SMO. I forgot about an SMO as well. But yeah, it's I'm going to ask that question online, I think, and let's ask the wider PMO community and see what they come back with. It'll be interesting to see. So moving on, we have got somebody new in the hot seat. Eileen, over to you. And you
I'm not in the hot seat. My good friend Judy Payne is in the hot seat. I think we just need to get her unmuted. There we go, perfect. And Judy is a knowledge management expert, and I know this because I was involved in writing a book with Judy amazingly 5 years ago now. I can't believe how much the time has passed. And this kind of came up, the topic for the month, as Lindsay's probably already explained, is kind of knowledge management. And when we were kind of working through this, we have on the House of PMO website, we have a knowledge library. And I said, just wait until Judy Payne sees that and tells you kind of what's the difference between knowledge management and information management. And Judy's been, you know, kind of, as you saw there, been involved in developing the BSI standards. She's been involved in writing the competency framework with us to make sure we had all of the right words in the competency framework about knowledge management, because knowledge management is something that we at the PMO need to do. So I thought it would be lovely to have Judy with us just to talk a little bit about knowledge management and information management and how we can help do that for the projects and programs we deliver. So welcome on board, Judy.
Thank you.
Here, and see your first time at being with us on our HotPMO or HotHouse PMO. So a bit of a kind of a railroader. So we've just got a few minutes. So back to the kind of the good old nugget about what is the difference between knowledge management and information management, Judy?
Well, I'm not sure I can explain that in 10 minutes. I like to think of knowledge as a human capability. I like to think of it as a process of knowing. There's a whole branch of philosophy, epistemology, about the nature of knowledge. So, you know, there's ultimately no right or wrong. But knowledge is, it's not a thing, it's something that people have, and it involves understanding, and it helps people make better decisions and take more effective actions. Information is a thing. Knowledge isn't a thing. Information is a thing. Information is often described as as organized data, which it can be, but it's also information can also be derived from knowledge. So when we wrote our book, Eileen, we wrote down some of our knowledge, but when you write it down, it becomes information. So that's the other. So knowledge can come straight from information can come straight from knowledge, but it's never a complete representation of somebody's knowledge. Nobody can write down everything they know. Nobody can even explain everything that they know about a very detailed subject. They'll always forget something. There'll always be some qualifier, some contextual thing that means it doesn't apply if the temperature is above 35 degrees or something like that. So information is not the same as knowledge.
So from a PMO perspective then, where, you know, we are talking about our knowledge management, we've got kind of project managers out there with knowledge, and we've got PMO people out there with knowledge. What are the kind of things that we can do then to kind of make sure we actually don't just kind of play with bits of information in databases? What can we actually do to help project managers have access to knowledge and use real knowledge in the delivery of their projects and programs?
The main thing that a PMO can do is to connect people to other people. If you read something, if I wrote something down about how to do this bit of project management, or how to do this particular thing of project management, there's no guarantee that anybody reading it would understand what I intended by the meaning. And the same, of course, applies to our book. And the same applies to what I'm speaking now. So if you really want to share knowledge, if a new project team, for example, wants to find out all of the things that are already known that might go wrong, the best thing they can do is talk to somebody else, because then they can, in a conversation, there are opportunities to
I think, have you frozen, Judy?
So that connect people to other people.
Okay, I think you froze for a bit in the middle there, but it is about that connection to people to people. So is there, we've in the House of PMO or amongst this as well, and projects and programs and PMOs, we've collected an awful lot of stuff, an awful lot of information that we've kind of formally documented and put down in beautiful repositories that are kind of well maintained. How can we kind of use that information in the whole kind of knowledge management process? Are they completely separate, or can we use all of that information?
No, they're not. They're not completely separate. Sharing information is a way of sharing knowledge, but the not just on its own, it's just information management, because when somebody reads something, they might not understand the intended meaning. So the best thing, you need to share information. You can't have a conversation about absolutely everything with 2,000 people. You've got to use information sharing as a means of sharing knowledge, but it should always be backed up with an opportunity to interact with a human who's actually got that knowledge. So if you've got articles, are your articles in your PMO
knowledge library?
Knowledge library. Do your articles have the name of the author on them?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
do
they do.
have contact details for the author?
If they're the local ones, predominantly, yes, they do.
Yeah. Is there a way that people who are reading the same article can talk to each other, online chat or something, to exchange their ideas about what it means and how it might be applied? Whatever it
Not
is.
yet, but we're definitely looking, and I know that Melissa will be cringing in the background, because we know that's her job, where we're looking at expanding the website so we can actually kind of have those discussions.
Yeah. Okay, that's how knowledge management and information management interact. So from a knowledge management perspective, information management is a very important tool, and information sharing is an important tool in knowledge management. But the things that you do in knowledge management and the things you do in information management are very different.
Okay.
Because knowledge isn't a thing that you can arrange on shelves, whereas information is.
So would a community practice type meetup be a form of knowledge management, or
It depends. The short answer is yes. Communities of practice are an important part of knowledge management, because they're places where people who the important thing is the practice. So people who are practitioners in the same subject area can develop knowledge, create new knowledge. They can maintain knowledge. They can maintain information about their subject area as well. So communities of practice came from learning. They came from education, but they're widely used in knowledge management. It's always better to have a group of people who are actively discussing and keeping that knowledge alive, not just writing it down. But I said it depends, because communities of practice actually have, to be a proper community of practice, you have to meet 3 criteria. One is that you have a subject area. One is that you are a community of people with relationships, because trust is important in knowledge management. Nobody's going to share their wacky ideas or their libelous thoughts with somebody that they don't trust, and they need to. And the third thing is practice. It's got to be practitioners, not people who are just interested in finding out more.
Yeah. And I'm just reflecting there, and kind of one of the things that we do on the conference is we do try to provide plenty of room so people before and after the talks can actually have those kind of conversations and continue the learning. And I'm very conscious of time. Just kind of one final thing, Judy, because I just know you love the subject. Our lessons learned databases. How can we improve them to actually kind of really use the knowledge that created that information? How can we better use that for kind of improving project and program delivery going forward?
2 things. First of all, it's a bit like the knowledge library. If you've got the name of the person who learned the lesson and who wrote the lesson, put that in the database. But the big thing with lessons learned if they are stored in some sort of a database. And this is a role for a PMO, is to look for common themes in that learning, because a lesson isn't actually learned until it results in a change in practice. Just writing it down and sticking it in a database, not learned. A change in practice, and that's something that a PMO can do. Look at what people are saying. There, you pick out themes and change the processes so that those things don't happen again.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So it's a very quick kind of 10 minutes, but thank you very much for your time, Judy. Judy's can be found on LinkedIn. If there's any further questions you want to ask around knowledge management, I'm sure Judy would be very happy to help. If you want some help setting up your community of practice, she's the one to get in touch with. So thank you very much, Judy, for that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Judy. And we're at the end of the show, so we've not even got time to give it a wrap up because there's been that much stuff. But we will go out in a blaze of glory, and we will be back next month. Check out the website, see when we're back. But we have got 4 things right up there right now for you to have a look at, get involved in. Come and have a listen, get involved. We're sharing information that will hopefully turn into knowledge. And the next one coming up is the HotPMO. We're looking at management of value as a course. Is it worth it? We'll get some insights on that. Brilliant catch, as it were, that I've got from the first chief project officer from Australia. Has got some brilliant insights, and we'll be looking to try and launch our Inside PMO report this year, which is also about PMO as a business function, and there'll be some insights, some kind of pre-print insights for you from that. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you've picked out some interesting nuggets, and we'll see you again. It'll be April, so take care for now. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.